it's Tallulah. And wouldn't you know, it's that time of the night when we talk to our special guest and featured artist. Yeah, we give them two names because we love them that much. I said it God knows how many times by now. And tonight, it's none other than the wonderful Craig Hecht, aka Third Bridge. Awesome singer-songwriter. I've been familiar with this guy's stuff for years now, and it's just a real pleasure to finally have him on with us on Butterflies and Hurricanes. And we're going to be talking to him in just a moment after we play the first track tonight from his awesome new album. What's the name of the album?
One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit.
One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit. Out now, and it's available on iTunes and Amazon and Spotify and a billion other places. And this is Song for the World.
Warm against the coldness, a picture of a better time, a time of faith and love and boldness, made with brushes coarse and fine, a picture to give hope to the hopeless. Choose to hear this message of love, or will they turn a deaf ear, or will they rise above? Can the song change the world? So I'd like to know, do our hearts have room to grow? Light in times of darkness, a melody to stir the soul. I wrote a song for the world, a tonic for these days of madness, a song of hope, a song of peace, a song of love to cure the sadness, to cure the sadness.
Song for the World by tonight's wonderful special guest, Craig Hecht, aka Third Bridge. And wouldn't you know, we just happen to be talking to him right now. Help me out with the applause so I don't have to dub it in later.
Alright.
Alright. Yeah. Okay, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show at last, Craig, because we've been planning this for quite a while now, haven't we?
We certainly have, Louis. I think you contacted me, probably a year ago, I think, actually. But it's been quite some time, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say. Actually, I checked it out on Facebook. It was something like a year ago. But you're here now.
Yep.
Okay, so starting off, this is something that I always ask the different acts that we have on the show. Talk to me, what did you listen to growing up? How did you get into music in the first place?
Well, my father played several different instruments. He started me out with ukulele when I was 5 years old because my hands were too little to hold a guitar at that point. But there was always music in my house. My mom and dad both played guitar, keyboards. several different things. I kind of grew up around music. I started out with the Monkees back in the 60s, that far back. And, of course, the Beatles. And just kind of kept on progressing. Got into my more heavy metal phase. I hit like Deep Purple, Grand Funk, Black Sabbath, all that stuff. Pretty much I grew up listening to everything. I was kind of like a sponge, Later on I was getting into jazz and acoustic guitar music and instrumental stuff and just kind of absorbing a little bit of everything from everywhere.
Yeah, I gotta say, jazz. I've been listening to a lot of Thelonious Monk lately.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff. Coltrane, all that type of thing.
Yeah. That's real cool. I'm a big fan of Miles Davis's In a Silent Way, That's great.
Definitely. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So what was your first attempt at doing music by yourself or with other people? Talk to me about those early bands in school and stuff.
Well, actually, I had quite a few bands that played in basements of people's houses, back in high school. And, we never really got out and played that much. A couple of high school talent shows, if you will, and that type of thing. And more for fun. When I turned 19, I got into my first cover band. And I played all the clubs and all the bars and did that for probably a good, 30 years with different bands, playing all cover material, never anything original. And after I got kind of tired with that's when I decided to focus more on original music, and that's pretty much where Third Bridge came from.
Oh, well, tell me a little bit about these different bands that you performed in. Anything particularly memorable?
Oh, you bet. I was in a band called the Express Band for a good 20 years, and that was a rhythm and blues funk band. Did like a lot of Motown, that type of thing. The band still continues today. As a matter of fact, I'm heading out to one of their gigs this afternoon to see them. And they're doing more top 40 now than we used to do. But I did 20 years with those guys. We played every place, hotel ballrooms, casinos, bars, clubs. Then before that, I was like in a country band. I was in a kind of a heavy metal 60s band type thing, almost like a Ramones type thing called the Twist Tones.
Cool.
Very long and checkered career, actually.
Yeah, was this all cover stuff that you were playing?
Correct. Yeah, there was never any original stuff. Although, in the background, I always wrote original stuff at home on my own, but I never brought it to a band, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you a little bit about your original endeavours in creating your own music, because after all those years performing with cover bands, I bet you were itching to write your own stuff. But before we do, I'm going to play another one of your songs from your album, One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit. Tell me about this track that we're going to play now, Love Wave.
Love Wave is a very interesting tune. The lyrics were written by my partner, Scott, who passed away about a year ago. So I had the lyrics, but I didn't have any music. And at the time, I was really getting into more like Middle Eastern grooves, that type of Indian-type percussion, stuff like that. So Love Wave is kind of like a cross between like a Kashmir-type vibe plus some heavier guitar and a lot of atmospheric stuff in the background, too. It's a real mishmash of some different genres. It's a really cool track.
Okay, fantastic. Let's hear it then by Third Bridge, Love Wave.
will save us. Love wave. Planetary shift toward a new beginning. Changing hearts and minds of the cold and heartless. Throw your armor down. Let the wave engulf you to a higher ground, to a peaceful harbor. The love wave is what is coming. The love wave is almost here. The love wave is what will save us. The love wave.
Love Wave by tonight's special guest, the awesome Third Bridge. Okay, now Craig, after you've been playing with all these cover bands for years, at what point was it that you decided, damn, I've just got to start doing my own stuff? Did it happen accidentally, or was it a definite decision on your part, or what?
Well, there were some times between bands I had maybe like a year or two off, just kind of like on my own, like between gigs, if you will. And that's where I really started out doing some more writing. I got my first home studio back like in the 80s. I had like one drum machine, one synthesizer, and a 4-track cassette recorder. That was my first studio back in like probably 81. And I started out just kind of like experimenting, putting down tracks and seeing what I could do. And once I had the different instrumentation and the technology to really help me get the stuff, out of my head, that was fantastic. And all of a sudden now I have a platform. So I actually released a cassette-only album called Starstruck, and that was back like in 82. I sold it like out of a couple different independent record stores, and I sold like 200 copies, which was a big deal back in the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
But, I always kind of had that, I want to do my own thing. And the cool thing was, playing all these different types of music and all these different bands really kind of gave me a feel for all the different type of moods and stuff I could create. It was helping me become like a more well-rounded musician on my own, just knowing all these different styles. So that was very helpful.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. Okay, so tell me all about Third Bridge then. How did that come to be in the first place? Because as I understand, it wasn't just you, was it? It was you and your songwriting partner, Scott, yeah?
Correct, yeah. This gets a little complex, but basically what it comes down to is that Scott and I first met back in the mid-'80s. Our wives worked together and introduced us to each other. We had a fantastic love of music, the both of us. And I found out that he was a musician also. He was a classically trained acoustic guitarist, nylon string. And we started writing music for a bit back in, like I said, probably, late 80s, early 90s. And then we had some stuff go on, and we kind of lost touch from each other for about a good 20 years, actually. And during that time, I was still writing my own music and keeping on going. And my father passed away, and Scott has seen my dad's obituary, and that prompted him to contact me. And we got back in touch, and he asked me, so are you still writing and stuff? And I go, well, yeah, I have this entire time that we've kind of been apart. And he said, well, cool, can I come over and, see what your stuff is? And we got together, and turns out that he had some really great lyrics also. So we kind of put that music together, and that was pretty much where the Third Bridge started. And we have lyrics like probably starting like 2015, I think, was like the first couple tracks we actually recorded. And then, as I alluded to before, Scott passed away from after a battle with cancer about a year ago, last January.
Yeah.
So now I've been carrying on my own. But he did leave me quite a bit of stockpile of lyrics that he had written that we never had time to put music to. So a lot of his songs are still like pretty much my music and his lyrics. So it was kind of a tribute to him. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's awesome. Tell me, the songs that we're playing tonight, which of them has he written lyrics for?
Well, let's see here now. He wrote Love Wave. Mm-hmm. He also wrote Just a Fantasy. He also wrote Mega Child. And he also wrote The Traveler. The other ones, Song for the World, We All Need a Little Light, and Scenes from My Life, those are pretty much all my creations.
Okay, great, because we're going to play Just a Fantasy now. Anything you want to say about it before we play it?
You bet, yeah. It's a great little rock tune. It's kind of a power pop thing, kind of a Cheap Trick type of groove, and really cool harmonies. Just a really good, like an 80s pop tune. It's a great song. Okay, great. From the album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit by Third Bridge, Just a Fantasy.
Just a fantasy before my eyes. Oh no, in my mind there is this place I go when I'm in pain. It's a hidden starlit place I've learned to call my friend. Can you see the wonder in it? Can you even try? Or is it just a fantasy before my eyes? Oh no, carousels of dancing flowers. Could this be like second sight? Watching minutes turn to hours, shadows turn to light. Hey, can you see me? Hey, can you come with me? Comforting and warm. Time stands still, surrealist scenes of pure artistic form. Can you see the wonder in it? Can you even try? Or is it just a fantasy before my eyes? Oh no, carousels dancing alive. Like second sight, watching minutes turn to hours, shadows turn to light. Hey, can you see me? Hey, can you come with me? I don't wanna make this trip alone. Hey, can you see me? Hey, can you come with me? I don't wanna make this trip alone. I don't wanna make this trip alone.
Just a Fantasy by Third Bridge from their fantastic new album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit. Okay, you were just about to tell me this while we were off air, Craig, but explain to me now, exactly where does the title of that album come from?
Well, the title comes from the fact that when Scott was diagnosed with cancer, we had some time together and we knew what was, going to happen, and we kind of kicked around possible album titles, and we thought, One in the Flesh and One in the Spirit is so cool because it represents where we're at. Obviously, Scott is gone now and on the other side, and I'm still here, and we're still together. I mean, I still feel when I write, I still feel his presence, and, he's still here with me, in my heart when I record and when I write and everything else. So One in the Flesh and One in the Spirit just describes the current state of Third Bridge, and that's where we're at.
That's really nice. How long had you guys been working together?
Well, let's see. Like I said, probably you got a good 20 years, give or take, all total.
Right, I see. So that must have been pretty rough when you got the diagnosis, yeah?
It was just awful. And the funny thing was, he felt fine. He just went to the doctor for a totally unrelated thing, and they found cancer, and then it had spread through like his entire body. And he was just laid waste. He couldn't believe it because he felt fine. And they tried some different treatments and whatnot, and nothing really seemed to help. And they told him, well, that's it. You've got, like a month or whatnot. And
a month?
It was bad,
That is really rough. So I suppose once he realized that his number was up, you were working together pretty closely on the stuff that you were creating and what you'd be doing after he was no longer with you, yeah?
Yeah, correct. As a matter of fact, the last 3 songs on the album deal with his battle with cancer. One's called Pre-Flight, the second one is called The Battle, the last one is called Just Be Love. And those 3 songs deal with pretty much his journey through this whole thing. And in the end, Just Be Love talks about his final acceptance of the whole thing, and pretty much talks about all we can really do is just be love to each other. It's how you leave yourself on the earth and how you interact with people and a good feeling in their heart. And like I said, those last 3 songs kind of chronicle his whole thing. So that's how the album ends up.
Wow, I've got to say that's quite something. And they're all on this album, one in the flesh, one in the spirit. Sounds like a very personal thing, yeah?
It is very much. A lot of these songs are, they really kind of represent snapshots in time for us, places we were at, and, our friendship together. And it was such a joy to work with this guy because we had so much fun. We spent more time falling around the studio laughing, I think, than making music a lot of times. But it was a great bonding thing. I mean, the guy was my brother.
Oh, well, that's really, really nice to hear. I've got to say that's really quite touching, I must say.
Thanks.
Okay, one thing I was going to ask you about, I got the impression that you've got a great history behind you as a live performer with all these cover bands. Ever perform out live much as Third Bridge?
No, as a matter of fact, I have not, because when Third Bridge was first conceived, it was conceived as a studio-only project, because obviously being 2 guys, we couldn't recreate everything, because, I play all these different instruments and stuff, and so I'm just a guy, although there is, as you know, there's a certain buzz going out playing live you just can't recreate in the studio. You kind of miss that whole adrenaline rush, but maybe someday, depending on how things work out, if this music is really accepted and there's a demand for it, yeah, I wouldn't be against putting it together a live version.
Oh, wow, that would be really, really cool. I mean, I guess you've got lots of contacts on the scene, yeah?
Yeah, I do. I know some people.
Okay, great. Well, maybe we'll be seeing that at some point in the future. That would be really, really cool, I must say.
We shall see.
We shall see, yeah. Okay, great. Talk to me about the next song that we're going to play. This is a track called Scenes from My Life.
Scenes from My Life is our Beatles song. It's very orchestral. It's very Sgt. Peppery. In this, has a big orchestra and stuff starting the whole thing off. It's like this wall of sound, and then it kind of turns out to be kind of like this acoustic guitar poppy tune. And then it breaks off like this one rock and roll thing towards the end. So it's got a whole bunch of different textures and different sections, and really interesting.
Oh, wow, that's really, really cool. Are you much of a Beatles fan?
I never used to be. It's kind of funny. When I was in high school, I couldn't stand them. When I was in high school, I'm listening to like the Slayer, Megadeth, and all this heavy stuff. And I really didn't appreciate the Beatles. It wasn't until I got older that I started to understand that so much of the music we do now, they invented all that stuff. I mean, they were the architects of all the bedrock of what we do. And it was just like when I was younger, I was like, the Beatles, that's an old crappy music. I don't care about that stuff. But then, like I said, as I got more into music, started to realize what they had actually done. Oh yeah, I love them to death now.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Okay, then a song inspired by the unrequited Beatles from the album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit, Scenes from My Life.
was a kid, I thought the moon would follow me, the sun would warm my face, the fields we played in were a holy place. When I was a kid, as time went by, I saw the way the world worked. School was a battleground. Every day I'd scream without a sound. When I was a kid, I see the future is so clear. There's nothing left to fear. I never thought I'd feel so alive. When I was a kid,
Scenes from My Life by tonight's special guest, Third Bridge. Okay, now, Craig, been meaning to ask you about this. Talk to me about the division of work, of creativity, of whatever you want to call it, between yourself and Scott, because I'm under the impression that he would take care of the lyrics and you would take care of the music, or is that too cut and dried?
Well, you know, there is a bit of a blur there. Actually, he was more like kind of like my editor. You know, I would be standing in the middle of the studio, wearing a guitar, my hands on a keyboard, and I get the thing where if I really get excited and I really get in the mood, all of a sudden this music is all flying out of me, like 8,000 miles an hour. And I needed somebody to tell me, okay, whoa, stop, slow down, that section you just played, play that again, or try a different key. Otherwise, I'm just like going, it's all falling out of me, and I don't have any way to channel it. His job primarily was to tell me, okay, focus, like this part is great, try this again, like repeat that chorus. He was so cool about that. And also, he did play guitar also, and he sings lead on quite a few of these songs as well. So some are my lead vocals, some are his. We also harmonize really well together. There's a lot of multi-part harmonies on this album that involve both of us. And again, a great orchestrator, and again, a fantastic lyricist. And there are some songs that we both kind of contributed to everything in a little bit. It wasn't as cut and dried as you might think. There was a lot of overlap there, which made the interplay of the two of us really cool.
Okay, fantastic. Tell me, these songs that we've played tonight, let me see, Love Wave, I understand that Scott wrote the lyrics for that one. How did that one come to be?
Well, Love Wave was there was a lot of dark stuff going on in the world at the time, and Third Bridge has always been about, our motto is peace, love, light, and music. You know, we want to really inspire positivity in people. We want to try to touch people's hearts. and try to make a change to the better and the more positive. When Love Wave was about this wave of love, this feeling that's going to spread the world, and it might sound kind of corny and hokey to some people, but we really believe that with the power of music behind us, we can touch people's hearts and we can create change in the world. I mean, I think it's up to the musicians, it's up to the artists. We have quite a bit of influence on folks, and we can touch them in different ways that news can't, or different things. And I think it's kind of our mission to do that sort of thing. So that's what Love Wave is really all about.
Yeah, I gotta say, I see that sense of optimism coming through very much in the songs, in the titles and the music and the lyrics, like Song for the World. I understand that you did the lyrics on that one as well. Did Scott have any input in that one?
No, he did not, unfortunately. Song for the World is all my baby. I had this keyboard lick stuck in my head for probably a year and a half that starts that song out, and I just couldn't come up with something else. I had this intro, and then I have a song for the world. I had that part stuck in my head, and I just couldn't get the rest of it out. And like I said, I carried the thing for months, and finally, one night down here in the studio, I sat down on the piano and started noodling, and the whole thing just dropped out. But yeah, that was all my lyrics and all my music, so it kind of represents where I was feeling at the time.
Okay, and tell me something about the next track that we're going to play. This is a track entitled The Traveller. Is that just you, or is that you and Scott?
That's the both of us. The Traveler is a very, very cool tune. Scott brought me the lyrics, and I pictured in myself it's kind of like a journey, kind of like a guy taking a spiritual journey. And when I first heard the lyrics, I had this visual in my head. And I'm picturing the Lord of the Rings thing. You have this little guy wearing a little cloak, or a little pointy hat like a wizard, and he's going up this mountain. And actually the way the song starts out is very atmospheric. You hear the wind, you hear the thunder, you hear the wolves in the background. It really sets a tone. And then the song kicks off, and it's this acoustic guitar thing with beautiful 3-part harmonies all the way through. And it talks about this man's kind of spiritual journey. But like I said, I saw it in my head as kind of like a Hobbit type, Lord of the Rings type visual. So to me, it kind of creates a whole movie out of sound.
Okay, so let's hear it then by the awesome Third Bridge from their album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit. This is The Traveller. The Traveller, by tonight's special guest, The Third Bridge, from their album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit, out now and available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Google Play, and just about anywhere else that you could possibly imagine getting music from. Okay, now, Craig, we've been talking about this album that you put out, One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit, and about the process of creating that. And I'm sure right now you're going through the business of promoting it. How's that going, by the way?
Really well, as a matter of fact. It's being picked up by a lot of different social media outlets and whatnot, and people are responding really well, so it's been really cool. It's only been out for a few days, and so far this response has been fantastic.
Oh, well, that's really, really good. I must send you a copy of my station list, all the stations where I know the people, and pretty much tell them I sent you, say that I recommended you or whatever, and they'll play your stuff, and I'll play your stuff on Butterflies and Puskalaw and all the rest, you know?
Very cool. Thank you, man.
Oh, no sweat, no sweat. But I wanted to ask you, now that you've got this album, One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit out, what are your plans for the future? Because it's going to be... Well, actually, you've done a number of songs on this album that were just you. What are your plans for recording future stuff? You're going to get to work on another album or just keep recording stuff and see how it goes like you did with this album? Any plans to work with other people at all?
Well, as a matter of fact, there's still quite a bit of music still in the can. This album has 19 tracks on it. At the moment, we have almost 30 finished songs, so I could have done another album just with the stuff I have sitting around. And also, Scott and I, over the years, recorded a bunch of music on 4-track cassettes, and I have 30 90-minute cassettes full of music and bits and ideas that we had amassed together over a 20-year period. And that's still on my old 4-track cassette player, which is still down here in my studio. So I'm also planning on going back to some of that old stuff, maybe giving it like a new coat of paint, if you will, and re-releasing it as something better. And I'm always writing and recording brand new material on my own as well. So there's no shortage of music here for sure.
Oh wow, that's really, really good. Apart from anything, it's very reassuring to know that you got stuff in the cupboard, you know what I mean?
Yup, you bet.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. But yeah, really looking forward to hearing that new stuff that that stuff that you've already recorded, see what that sounds like. I'm guessing that it must have been quite a bit of a hassle to decide what you were going to put on this album and what you were going to leave off, yeah?
It really was. There was a lot of tracks I wish I could have had room for, and I just had to make a choice at some point and drop a few things off, but the next release will catch up to a lot of stuff, so kind of looking forward to that too.
Brilliant. That sounds really, really cool. Can't wait to hear that.
All right.
Okay, so tell me all about the next track that we're going to play. This is a track called Mega Child.
Mega Child is one of the very first Third Bridge tracks ever recorded. It has a Scott lyric, and we both got together on writing the music, and actually I believe it had a different title, and I can't think now for the life of me what it was. It didn't start out as Mega Child, but just ended up being that. But yeah, a real collaborative effort, both of us pitching in 50-50, and like I say, real early on, and had some beautiful harmonies on it, very kind of Crosby, Stills, Nash inspired in the middle there, which was funny because for me being a hard rock guy and all of a sudden I'm doing Crosby, Stills and Nash harmonies, I'm kind of like, what? But it worked out well, so it's a great tune. Yeah,
I gotta say, you got all sorts of influences on this record, haven't you? I'm very, very impressed.
Oh, it goes everywhere. I'm not sure if I really alluded to it before, but when I met Scott, I was more of like the hard rock guy, and he had more of like the 60s hippie vibe, so it was a mashing of my hard rock influence with his more psychedelic hippie vibe folk stuff, and the two mixed together ended up being a Third Bridge. So I think, as a matter of fact, if you go to the description of the CD and it says bands you sound like, it's a really interesting mix. It's like, yeah, we sound like a cross between Rush, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and the Beatles. So that's a lot of variety right there, kind of smashed together. But I think it works out, so there you go.
Yeah, I gotta say. Okay, well then, this is by Third Bridge, and it's from their album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit, and this is Mega Child.
Close your eyes and you'll hear the sound. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. see what there is to see. Have I told you I've tried and didn't succeed? Learn to reach this can take some time. Paint with rhythms and create with rhyme. You can do it if you try. Have I told you I've tried? Tears endlessly. Baby, I tried to see through your eyes. Maybe I tried too hard. Clouds from my heart have covered the skies. Thousands of broken stars rain down on me. Every door has a key you must find. Use your love to break the lock on your mind. You can keep your dreams alive. Have I told you that mine are here with me? Baby, I tried to see through your eyes. Maybe I tried too hard. Clouds from my heart have covered the skies. Thousands of broken stars rain down on me. Rain down on me.
Mega Child by tonight's special guest, Third Bridge. And all of these tracks that you've heard, they're all from the album One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit, out now and available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, and a whole other bunch of places. Okay, Craig, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. But before we sign off, first of all, it's a show yourself out moment. Obviously you want to plug the album, but tell us again, where can we get hold of that? Where can we hear it? What are you doing to promote it?
Well, pretty much it's all being handled in all the different outlets, like you said, iTunes, Amazon. I believe now it's on Pandora, it's on Spotify. The thing is just every place. And if you want to look us up, our main page is... let's look up the Third Bridge on Facebook. That's pretty much our main haunt right there. That's where I keep everybody updated with what's going on. Or if you just want to search the Third Bridge and put MN behind it for Minnesota, otherwise you're going to get pictures of bridges all over the world. So you want to go to the Third Bridge MN, and that would be us. And the first couple hits you're going to get off of that will be our various sites around the world. And I just want to thank everybody so much for all their love and support of this music. And it's been a long ride. And I want to thank you so much, Louis, for helping us out with this and taking the time to talk to us. And this has been fantastic, and I hope this whole thing continues, and we're going to have a whole heck of a lot of fun as we keep going. So there you go.
Oh yeah, definitely, to a long and prosperous future. And before we sign off, tell us just a little bit about this final track that we're going to play, We All Need a Little Light.
All right, this song here, I wrote this one. This is one of mine. And it was after I returned from Scott's memorial service. And there was some pretty sad faces there and whatnot, and everybody was really mourning the loss of him. Not to end the show here on a downer, but, I really thought that people needed to be reassured. They needed to have some hope. I mean, is Third Bridge going to continue? What are we going to do? And I just kind of thought, I need to write a song of positivity. I need to write something that let people know, it's going to be okay. We're all going to be fine. So I sat down and jotted down the lyrics of We All Need a Little Light. And it came to me pretty quickly. And the music came really fast, too. And I put that out pretty much as a response to all the suffering we've been through and all the bummer of everything with Scott. And I just want to tell people we're going to be okay. And that's what that song is all about.
Oh, well, that's really, really awesome. And it's been an absolute joy. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you, Louis.
Oh, no sweat, no sweat. And since we've come to the end of the show, just want to thank my co-host, Kim Groff, for backing me up as ever. Thanks also to my pal Binary Gnome, aka Legricia, for My Life in the Bush of Static. And thanks also, of course, to our special guest, the wonderful Craig Hecht, aka Third Bridge. And we're going to sign off now with another track from their album, One in the Flesh, One in the Spirit. And this is We All Need a Little Light. Till next week then, sweethearts. Kind regards. Mwah!
We thought the rain would last forever. Sheets of tears from darkened skies. Through the pain we held each other, heart to heart and hand to hand. We knew that love would make us stand. We all need a little light. We all need a little light. We all need a little light. Shine on, shine on. Now the clouds are slowly parting, tears are drying in the sun. Winds of healing softly blowing, all this hurt will fade away. Time to look inside and say, we all need a little light. We all need a little light. We all need a little light to shine on, shine on. Together we will face the future. The shaky steps will dance again. Sing a song for your tomorrow.